Have you ever walked into a room and forgotten why you went in there? Or maybe you've been mid-conversation and suddenly couldn't recall a name that used to roll off your tongue so easily. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone, and you're definitely not losing your mind. These little memory lapses happen to everyone, but after 65, they can start to feel more frequent, even frustrating. And let's be honest, it can be scary too. The fear that these moments might be signs of something bigger is real. But before we jump to conclusions, let's take a deep breath together. Because today, we're going to talk about something empowering. The common memory mistakes people over 65 make, and how to fix them starting right now. The truth is, memory doesn't just slip away overnight. It happens gradually, often because of small habits or unnoticed changes in our daily routines. The good news? Many of these can be reversed or improved with just a bit of awareness and a few small shifts. You don't need to overhaul your life or take fancy supplements. In fact, some of the most powerful changes are the simplest. Let's begin with the first and perhaps most overlooked mistake: skipping social interaction. After retirement, kids moving out, or even losing close friends, our social circles can quietly shrink. At first, it might seem like a relief, less pressure, more peace. But the brain is wired for connection. Think of it like a muscle. The more you engage with others, the more your mind stays sharp, flexible, and alert. Social interaction isn't just good for the heart, it's fuel for the brain. Even a short chat with a neighbor, a weekly call with a friend, or joining a local club can make a huge difference. When we engage in conversation, we're not just talking, we're listening, remembering, reacting, sharing stories. It's a complex workout for the brain, and the best part? It feels good. If you found yourself spending more time alone lately, that's okay. The first step is noticing. The second is reaching out, even just a little. It's not about becoming a social butterfly. It's about staying connected in whatever way feels right for you. Now let's talk about another habit that quietly chips away at memory over time. Poor sleep. Sleep might seem like a passive activity, but your brain is incredibly busy while you rest. It's sorting information, strengthening connections, and clearing out waste that builds up during the day. But when sleep becomes light, broken, or too short, which happens to many of us as we age, this process gets interrupted. It's not just about how many hours you're in bed. It's about the quality of that sleep. Are you waking up often? Do you feel refreshed in the morning? Or do you feel like you've been hit by a truck, even after a full night in bed? If the latter sounds familiar, your brain may not be getting the deep sleep it needs to clean house and protect your memory. To improve sleep, it's often the small things that make the biggest difference. Sticking to a regular sleep schedule, avoiding screens an hour before bed, cutting down on caffeine after lunch. These sound simple, but they help your body remember when it's time to power down. And if falling asleep is tough, a quiet bedtime routine, like reading a real book, stretching gently, or even listening to calming music, can signal your brain that it's time to rest. You deserve good sleep, not just to feel rested, but to keep your memories strong and steady. And while we're here, let's not ignore another silent factor that impacts memory more than most people realize: staying stuck in routine. Our brains thrive on novelty. Think about when you learned to drive or took your first trip abroad. Every moment was engaging, your mind alert, absorbing every detail. That spark doesn't have to fade just because we're older. In fact, now's the perfect time to rekindle it. If your days have become a bit too predictable, your brain might be coasting. That's not bad, but it can lead to dullness, forgetfulness, and even a sense of time blurring together. You don't have to do anything wild. Even small changes, like trying a new recipe, switching up your walking route, or learning a few words in another language, can light up areas of the brain that may have gone quiet. It's about giving your mind something fresh to play with. Trying something new doesn't mean you have to be good at it. It's the act of stretching your brain that matters. And the bonus? It makes life more interesting, which in turn makes you feel more alive. A curious mind is a youthful mind, and no matter your age, curiosity is something you can nurture and enjoy. By now, you might be nodding your head, recognizing some of these habits in your own life. That's a good thing, because awareness is the first step toward change. The memory challenges we face after 65 aren't about weakness or decline. They're often signals. Signals that our minds are craving connection, rest, novelty, or care. And when we respond to those signals with kindness and intention, incredible things can happen. Let's keep this conversation going. There's more to explore and even more to improve. There's something powerful about realizing that small steps can make a big difference, especially when it comes to memory. We've already talked about how isolation, poor sleep, and falling into routine can gradually wear down our mental sharpness. But there's another major mistake that often goes unnoticed, even though it can have a huge impact on how clearly we think: neglecting proper nutrition. A major culprit here is sugar. Now, we're not just talking about cookies or soda. Sugar hides in everyday foods like white bread, pasta, salad dressings, and even low-fat yogurts. Over time, too much sugar inflames the brain and disrupts insulin levels, which can interfere with memory and mood. You might notice it as feeling foggy in the afternoons, or needing coffee just to feel normal. That's not just getting older. It's your brain telling you it's overwhelmed. The fix? Begin by noticing. Look at labels, ease off the packaged foods, and try to include more real, whole foods in your meals, like leafy greens, berries, eggs, nuts, and oily fish like salmon. These foods are full of the nutrients your brain needs to function well. Healthy fats, antioxidants, and vitamins that support memory and slow down cognitive aging. You don't have to go on a diet. You don't have to eat perfectly. But shifting even a few meals each week toward these brain-friendly foods can bring back mental clarity you didn't even know you'd lost. And don't forget hydration. Dehydration is one of the sneakiest ways your memory can take a hit. After 65, the body becomes less efficient at signaling thirst. That means you might not feel thirsty even when your brain desperately needs water to function properly. If you've ever felt sluggish, irritable, or found it hard to focus without knowing why, dehydration could be the reason. Try keeping a water bottle nearby or adding herbal tea into your routine. It's simple, but incredibly effective. Now, there's one more big mistake that's incredibly common, but not often talked about, and that's letting stress simmer in the background. Stress isn't always loud. Sometimes it just hangs around, a low hum in your life. Worrying about health, finances, the future, or loved ones. You might think, it's just part of life. And yes, stress is normal. But when it becomes constant, it can damage the hippocampus, the part of your brain responsible for forming and storing memories. The tricky part is that many people over 65 have become so used to carrying stress silently that they don't even recognize it anymore. It just feels like life. But when your brain is in a constant state of fight or flight, it has a hard time concentrating, processing new information, or recalling what you already know. It's like trying to listen to a whisper during a thunderstorm. Your brain just can't focus through the noise. That's why finding small, manageable ways to reduce daily stress isn't just about peace of mind. It's about preserving memory and mental clarity. You don't need a yoga studio or a beach vacation to do this. Even a 5-minute daily breathing exercise can help. Or spending time in nature, tending a small garden, or simply sitting quietly with music you love. Journaling can work wonders too, just letting your thoughts out of your head and onto paper. What matters is creating a moment, just for you, each day. A moment where your mind isn't reacting, solving, worrying, or planning. Just being. It sounds so simple, but in that space your brain gets to rest and heal. Over time, that space can protect your memory, reduce anxiety, and help you feel more in control of your life, even when everything else feels like it's moving too fast. We've all made some of these mistakes, not because we're careless, but because no one taught us how to take care of our brains after 65. But it's never too late. Every single day is a new opportunity to treat your mind with kindness and attention, to feed it well, to challenge it, to rest it, and to trust that it still has incredible power to learn, adapt, and grow. So if you found yourself forgetting things more often, feeling a bit slower or not quite yourself, don't panic. You're not broken. You're not too old. You might just need a little reset, a few new habits, and a whole lot of encouragement, because the truth is, your brain wants to thrive. And when you give it what it needs, it will surprise you in the best ways. Let's keep moving forward. It might sound too simple to be true, but the food you eat every day is either helping your memory or hurting it. After 65, your body and brain don't process nutrients the same way they used to. That means even if you're eating okay, you might still be missing what your brain needs to stay alert, focused, and balanced. And when your brain is undernourished, forgetfulness, brain fog, and mood swings can sneak in, not because of age, but because of what's missing from your plate. You've come this far, and that already says a lot about the kind of person you are. Someone who still believes that life after 65 can be sharp, vibrant, and full of clarity. And you're right to believe it. The biggest mistake of all, though, the one that often goes unnoticed even by the most health-conscious people, is assuming that memory loss is just part of getting older and that there's nothing you can do about it. That quiet surrender is what really puts your brain at risk. Let me tell you something that might surprise you. Forgetfulness is not a guarantee of aging. Yes, it's true that the brain changes over time, but memory decline isn't inevitable. The most dangerous part of this belief is that it stops people from doing anything about it. They start joking about being forgetful old folks. They stop challenging their minds, and they stop looking for new experiences. Over time, that belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But here's the thing. Your brain is a living organ. It's designed to grow, adapt, and rewire itself, even in your 80s or 90s. Scientists call this neuroplasticity, and it's one of the most hopeful things we've ever discovered about the brain. You're not stuck with the mind you had yesterday. You can train your brain, like a muscle, to stay strong, but only if you stop believing it's too late. So, how do you break out of that trap? Start by simply being curious again. Curiosity is like fuel for your brain. Read something new. Watch a documentary. Learn the lyrics to a new song. Try painting, gardening, or even picking up a new recipe. None of it has to be perfect. The goal isn't to be an expert. The goal is to give your brain new challenges. Just like physical exercise keeps your body young, mental exercise keeps your mind sharp. And the more joy you find in learning, the better your memory will become. It's not magic, it's science. Another powerful habit? Social connection with purpose. Not just chatting with someone now and then, but being part of something. Whether it's volunteering at a local school, joining a walking group, or taking a class with others, being engaged in a meaningful way activates multiple areas of the brain at once: emotion, memory, language, coordination, and logic. It's one of the most effective and natural ways to keep your memory strong without even realizing you're doing it. Some people say, "But I'm retired, I just want to relax." And that's okay. Rest is important. But relaxation doesn't mean shutting down. Think of it more like changing gears. You've spent decades working hard, taking care of others, handling responsibilities. Now your challenge is to nurture yourself, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally too. It's okay if you've made some of these memory mistakes before. We all have. The key is not to judge yourself, but to notice and gently shift. That's where the real change begins. Not in big, dramatic actions, but in the quiet decision to try. To take care of your mind the way you take care of your heart or your back. And trust that every step you take in that direction matters, even if you don't see the results right away. There's something really beautiful about this stage of life. You have the wisdom of experience, the freedom of time, and the power to choose what comes next. And when you take your memory health seriously, you're not just remembering more, you're living more. You're staying connected to the people and moments that matter most. You're waking up with more purpose. You're feeling more like yourself again. So as we wrap up, let's take a deep breath together. Let's release the shame, the worry, and the belief that it's too late. Let's replace it with something far more powerful: hope, action, and a sense of joy for what's still ahead. Your memory isn't just a collection of facts. It's a reflection of how fully you've lived. And it's never too late to make that reflection a little clearer, a little brighter, and a whole lot more alive. If this message touched you, share it with someone you care about. Maybe a friend, a spouse, or a sibling who's been feeling forgetful lately. Let them know they're not alone, and that there's something they can do. And if you haven't already, tap that like button and subscribe for more videos that put your health, happiness, and independence first. Thank you for spending this time with me. Here's to living your sharpest, most joyful life, no matter what your age.